The structure of our session today will start with the overview of the cross-certification exercise, and then we'll go through a little bit more details on the documents, summary of the gap analysis, scenarios and examples, and a Q&A at the end. So who are the intended audience for cross-certification? We're looking at, of course, the CSPs and the CBs and the auditors. For auditors, we're looking at both ISO 27001:2005 and 2013. Yeah. What if the CSP is already 2005 certified? So what do? We found some statements released by ISO, which we will go through in a bit more detail later, on when is the expected due date for migration from 2005 to 2013. And what are the documents that can aid CSPs and CBs in the cross-certification programs? Right, so let's continue with a bit of the introduction. So an iteration on the parties who would be interested in this particular training will be the CSPs who are MTCS certified and interested in getting ISO 27001:2013 certified. Yeah. And CBs and auditors for ISO 27001 for both 2005 and 2013 versions. Okay, so we got a few questions on this. So what if the CSP is already certified but they are on version 2005? So what do we do? Based on what ISO has published in their website, the transition period has not been decided yet, but typically about 2 to 3 years from the date when it was published. It was actually published in October 2013. So around 2015, the latest by 2016, all the CSPs will need to migrate over to 2013 version. Yeah. And the certificates will only be valid till then. So there is a cutoff date so far based on the comms released by ISO. Okay, so what are the documents that we're going to go through today? We have 3 key documents. I'm sure Amanda is very familiar with this because you were here for part 1 training. So we have a gap analysis, we have implementation guideline, and audit checklist. Yeah. So naturally, the gap analysis would list down all the clauses that are in the ISO 27001:2013. Right? So for each of the clause, we'll have a gap classification, whether it's going to be included, incremental, or new. We'll show you a few snapshots later. In the implementation guidelines, we will list down only the gaps. So the ones, the clauses that are classified as new or incremental. So what is this implementation guideline for? To give the CSPs recommendation on the steps that they can use to migrate to 2013. Audit checklist is more for CBs and auditors, but of course CSPs can refer to this as well, just to make sure they have some form of expectation on what they are going to be audited for. Okay. So I've gone through these points. An overview of the differences between requirements listed in MTCS and ISO. So MTCS, we have level 1, 2, and 3, right? So the scope of this gap analysis will cover all 3 levels in terms of migration. Yeah. To assist CSPs that are MTCS certified to adopt the 2013 version. Okay. For this one, I'd like to highlight that the guidelines will need to be tailored to the CSP specific requirements. Although we have a broad guidelines on how they can implement, it may not be 100% applicable to all the CSPs. So as CBs and auditors, it may need to be upon your discretion to make that judgment call. Yeah. So coming to the audit checklist. So what's in it for you? It can help you plan in terms of resources, timeline, and cost. While this document doesn't cover the processes like Andreas mentioned, but it does give you some basis for you to estimate for the required effort to perform this cross-certification exercise. Because we have the number of clauses, we have stats in the gap analysis that you can use, and how many of them are gaps, and within these gaps, how many are totally new, and how many are increments. Okay. And here we have the new audit requirements, so these are the additional ones. And yeah, at the end of the day, it will help the CSPs plan better too. Okay, so what are the areas covered in the certification documents? Again, it's the 3 documents. So this is what the gap analysis look like. So it's the first document out of the 3 sets, 3 documents. So the first one is gap analysis, second is implementation guideline, and third one is the audit checklist. So we are now reviewing a snapshot of the gap analysis report. So, well, I've already mentioned just now, we are highlighting the gaps, right? So this is an exhaustive list of all the clauses that we have in ISO 27001:2013. Okay, all 50 pages of the gap analysis report here, and I think about 50 more pages here in the implementation guideline. Okay, coming back to this example. So for 9.2, for level 1, it's considered as new. For level 2, it's considered as new as well, but for level 3, it's incremental. So it's only natural for level 3 to have less gaps than the ones in level 2 or 1. Yeah. So you will see this, so don't be alarmed, it is correct. You have one clause, but multiple gap classification. Yeah, okay. Implementation guideline. So this is how it looks like. We have 8.1 for MTCS SS level 1 to 3, 8.2 MTCS SS level 1 to 2, and subsequently 8.3 is MTCS SS level 1. So what does that mean? Right? If the CSP is certified in level 3, you should only refer to 8.1. If you're certified in level 2, you should refer to 8.1 and 8.2. It's already included in the title there. If you're in level 1, you should refer to all 3 levels, because it's level 1, and 8.3 will have level 1 as well. Right. So if you have specific comments or thoughts, or maybe you think it should be incremental or new, or you don't understand what are the gaps, so this is the column that will help you understand a little bit more on the gaps that we've identified. So for example, this one, while this one is new, we have included why is it new, right? While this one is incremental, and why is it incremental? Only for level 3, and the specific clause that you need to refer to have a bit more understanding on the difference between incremental and new for these different levels. Yeah. So we're okay with this. We just covered that just now. So similarly for the audit checklist, the same structure is adopted for audit checklist and implementation guidelines. So if you are certified in level, if the CSP is certified in level 1, you need to refer to 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. But if you look at the structure here, it's slightly different. So we have 3 columns with check marks on organizational control, technical control, or effectiveness review. So naturally, organizational control would include things like viewing the documentation, conducting interviews, and as such. Technical control and visual control review will include you reviewing the system configurations and such, while effectiveness review is more relevant for level 3 in MTCS, because you need to be on site and check the effectiveness of some of the controls in place.